So this lesson with Ken, we worked on getting his weight transfer. So on his setup, we really worked on setup in the last few lessons, and that I worked with Ken. He's come a long ways. And really what happened is on his backswing, he thought he had to stay inside a box. So we kind of talked about the box. And what happened is when he'd get to his right side, he wouldn't move off the ball. So his weight transfer, you can see he's still pretty much hanging back, and his weight stays on that left side. So what we do is you can see kind of a C move there. Well, ideally, and I teach more of a two pivot swing, right now his shoulder is pretty much on top of the ball. The pros, if you look at the pros, what they do is they get off. So if you look at Zach Johnson here, who's playing some of the best golf in the world, watch what he does on his backswing. So he really extends and he turns into his right side, and you can see he really gets loaded up on that right side. It's very similar to Ben Hogan, one of the best ball strikers of all time. If you look at his shoulder, look how far he gets behind the ball. So it's actually at least an inch, okay, behind the ball, and he loads up on that right side, a two pivot swing. So for most amateurs, the reason why I teach this is because if they don't get to the right side, they're going to have a hard time getting through, because most of my amateurs have a hard time making this move like Zach does. Okay, so they push off. Look at how Zach pushes off. So he's already loaded up. He keeps that angle between his forearm and his shaft, and he keeps that angle, and he squares the club face up because of his turning of his trunk, so his chest. So he keeps that left shoulder pretty level down and through. The shaft is always tilting at impact with the tour pros, especially with their irons, and they release to a finish. So if you look at Ken, watch what he does with his swing. So look at the red line here before he swings. Okay, now watch where he's at the top of his swing. Okay, so he did a little bit better on move on this one, actually, this swing, but see how he's still on the ball? So he doesn't get off the ball, and so he stays on that left side. And then when he comes through, watch how his hips don't go past that yellow line like Zach does. So he just maybe lack mobility of the hips a little bit, more swinging with the arms on the downswing, kind of chopping motion, and he loses that angle between his left forearm and the shaft. So we want to have a little bit more lag or angle between the left forearm and the right forearm and the left forearm and the shaft coming through, so we don't lose that, called casting. And then it's a little late. So he was hitting a lot of shots before the ball. So what we wanted to do is really work on some drills, the towel drill, holding that shaft with his right hand coming through, and torquing with his trunk, and then the pivot drill that I always teach. So those are just a couple things that can really help Ken get better, and also probably you. Most of my students that I work on have a tendency of just coming up and out of it. The left shoulder kind of rises up at impact, just like that, and it's more of a swinging with the arms and losing a lot of power, because you can't get much power with your, just from your arms and your hands. Your power comes from your big muscles, your lat muscles, your chest, your core, your obliques, your trunk, all the upper part of your body. So if you want to be successful and be able to hit that tour trajectory like Zach Johnson and the guys on tour, you got to be able to swing and pivot with your big muscles. The shaft always needs to be leaning at impact. Shaft should be more in this position at impact. And you're going to have that ball flight that you want. It's going to be more piercing. It'll be less spin because you're not using the lever, losing that angle, which causes the ball to go higher. So when it's windy out, you're going to have a hard time controlling your distances. And just overall consistency. So I urge you to continue to work on your pivot moves, work on the big muscles, and same thing with Ken here. He's getting better, but it's just video really helps you see, breaks down frame by frame what we're truly doing in our golf swing that's keeping us from reaching our potential.
I put a stick here to help him see that, so he has that visual marker to get behind that stick. So we want to get all our weight transfer to that right side for a two pivot swing. So now when he gets to that right side and he gets loaded up, he has a chance to get back to the ball and square up the club face. So again, because he wasn't getting loaded up, he would come up and he was casting a little bit, so he was losing that angle. early release, and that was causing shots hitting the ground before the ball, making poor contact. So we really worked on the towel drill, feeling that angle coming through the pivot, and just getting to his right side and then through his left. So he's going to probably struggle a little bit with hitting fat shots, hitting shots before the ball until he gets used to getting his left side through. So just working at the top of the swing, down through impact, the moment of truth. Once he continues to work through that, then we can work on the follow through. But step by step, you just can't get them all at once. We got to work on one position at a time. So he had good setup, everything looked good there. We get him to the top of the swing. He was just a little bit more rotated to the front side. Want to get him more behind the ball, and then we work on that position to impact.